Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Waterhouse Vibes. This week, we continue a conversation we started in our last episode about development in Waterhouse and what have you. With me, I have Patrick from last week. And this week, I have a young man from the community. He's known as Ishmael. Ishmael, why don't you introduce yourself? Give us a brief introduction.
Thank you. Thank you again for having me.
You have to speak up. You have to speak up, bro.
Yeah. Thanks again for having me. I am originally I was born at Lenwood Park originally. So I grew up in and around Waterhouse. So for my first 5 years, I was at Lenwood Park, and then I moved for a little. For about 2 years, I lived down in Moscow, right at Escana, right at the start of Escana. And there's a church there, Lenwood Crescent. My family has deep roots. They actually own that church, right at Lenwood Crescent. And then I moved back to Lenwood Park. And that's where I was for most of my life up until about 2016, 2015 thereabout. I moved to Bushmouth, right at the top of Trinidad Road. And if you're familiar with Waterhouse, you know that the intersection starts where they call Bushmouth. So as much as I've moved, I've never moved out of Waterhouse. And the ironic thing is I don't intend to, because most people, they would say, there's a brain drain happening in Jamaica. I feel the same way about Waterhouse. So that's part of the reason why I don't necessarily want to move out. While it is, I'm hearing the echoes about people saying you should, spread your wings and get out of Waterhouse sort of thing. And I agree, but I don't necessarily think you need to move out of the community to spread your wings sort of thing. So that's for the rules of me and Waterhouse. So I still live there. I still live in Waterhouse. And I don't intend to move for now, if I am, because I'm a patriot for my community and my country. Having said that, I'm also a patriot. I've been involved in a lot of advocacy work on a national scale. And through that, I was engaged from my community. And this is why I appreciate my community so much, because it is because of my thirst for betterment. Somebody saw me right in a Waterhouse and decided to give me a chance, right? At the time, they used to have, I'm sure you're familiar with Balmachi. They used to have some meetings right at Balmachi on the grade 5 block here. And I was actually one of the only young persons that would attend those meetings every Monday. And I am, me, I am very vocal. And because of that, some political figures saw me and some non-profit organizations saw me and decided to engage me. And through that, I went to school. I got a scholarship to go to university. Did that, and then I became an ambassador for not just Waterhouse, but for my country, as I said before. I went into politics in terms of youth parliament and stuff like that. So that is me and my advocacy in a nutshell.
So you're a leader in Waterhouse. You're one of the leaders in Waterhouse, okay? So glad to have you, my friend. Glad to have you join us, because Patrick and I, we are on our way out, and we're looking to pass over the reign to you and the younger folks. So I'm glad to have you involved in this conversation. Speaking of which, last week we had a conversation, Patrick and I, and we received a response from another member of the community. And I want to play that response so you can hear what the thinking is. Okay? So listen to me now.
Gods and gods. Yes. I have this interview between Patrick and Michael Nita. When I get it from Michael, is that he seems to think the politician and the MP is a Santa Claus. But people land to give them everything handled. What about the family system of the people there? They're producing kids that they can support over the years. And as part of it, most of those kids becomes criminal, which is the most thing that when about the point of criminality, because I mean people was left Waterhouse and the successful. I think they should come back to invest in the era, but they can't invest in the climate of criminality, violence, and guns. So I don't think Patrick will at least kind of win about something. And I think you need to look at the development of the human being depends on yourself. They don't want to develop themselves, don't depend on the politician then. And the community has sprung up since Waterhouse as transfer state. Who do it? The people that develop themselves. They don't depend on the politician then. Don't the politician have enough resource to do the development? That's the next thing. I don't think Patrick go into that. And Mike will go into that. I work with the government, I work with MPs in several constituencies. And they try their best, they make requests to the government for a fund. They don't get it. And I can't go on now, but I need to speak to Patrick. I don't know who I can get to contact him. And I'm going to call Michael later and deal with him on that. That's my task, and that's my task on the interview. And I'll satisfy with the answers. That's one of the ideas that they come up with. The puncher is not Santa Claus.
Any feedback? What's the feedback?
Jump right into it.
Huh?
I'm gonna jump right into it.
I actually think we should. I really think we should. He was going in and out for most of the interview, so I wasn't hearing explicitly what he was saying. But I heard this phrase, politicians are Santa Claus, and I have to agree with that. Because politicians are not Santa Claus. They're representatives, just as how we are. So I heard him saying that. I'm not necessarily sure what he's referring to when he said Michael and Patrick are trying something. I wasn't hearing clearly, so I guess I'd have to hear that again. And he also mentioned something about guns and how members of the community get involved in those kind of activities, which is a myriad of different reasons. With that we can have the discussion, but it cannot be a one size fits all sort of thing. So I don't know.
Here's the thing about.
Go ahead.
Let's take it point by point that you raise. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you raised the whole thing of Santa Claus. Now, why would he even go there? Because certainly, I'm not gonna take offense to that statement because I know Santa Claus is an illusion. What we are here talking about is reality, not illusion. So I could never, right, be thinking that that statement bears any kind of understanding of what we talked about, right, when you make such a comparison. Because the reality is, why we are here is the very opposite of that. All right, it's because we're saying that we have our responsibility to build our community. It's not something anyone can do for us. Because we're talking about our lives, right?
Right.
We break it down by first looking at the individual, because it's individuals who make up a community.
Mm-hmm.
It is communities that make up a nation, right? And it's nations that make up a world. So basically, the trend of our discussion last week was precisely that what we are talking about is realizing our own responsibility and understanding the role we have to play as an individual and as a community, right, in changing the world. Because this is really what it's all about in the biggest scheme of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the individual level, we say it has to start with education. And that in itself is a self-responsibility. And in order for that to happen, we have to redefine our understanding of education, right? Education is not what you think you know. Education is about what you don't know. That's what education is. You are the one that's becoming educated, the self, right? Because if you don't understand that, you can't teach it. You can't teach something you don't understand.
True.
Right? So this is really the root of our discussion. The root of our discussion is that we have got to come to understand what the reality is. What is this thing we call reality? This thing we call reality is life. Now, what is this life that we call the reality, right? It is this intelligence. I'll give you an example, right? If I was to ask you, who are you? What would be your answer? And I'm just directing it at Ishmael now, just for the purpose of the discussion.
For the purpose of the discussion, I'll give you some monotonous answer in relation to personality traits that I have. But the truth is, I'm still trying to find out who I am.
Can you try and put it in one statement, just for the purpose of the exercise? Can you put it in one statement?
I am a young man still trying to find his way and his purpose in life. That's who I think I am now.
Okay. All right. What that answer says about you, right, is who you understand yourself to be right now. Right? That's what the answer says. Now, in turn, I can offer to you this. I'm going to give you something to consider, because I'm going to ask you the same question again. And after you have considered what I'm going to give you to point out, what I'm going to give you to consider, right? You're going to answer it again in a statement, right? This is an exercise I carried out with my grandchildren, all right? And it's something which it doesn't come easily, because this is what life is all about, right? Life is not about handing you anything. Life is about you growing to understand who you are. It is, as I said last week, it is what the Rastaman called the know thyself. He was onto something when he said that. When the Rastaman said, know thyself. When certain Christians scholars say, know the I am, right? That is what it is speaking to. It is speaking to this, quite simply. If I was to describe who I am in one statement, I would say that I'm an expression of a power that is greater than I am. Because whatever made me has to be greater than I am. Right? Whatever is responsible for me being here has to be greater than I am. And that is what defines who I am. I am defined by my understanding of who I am. Right? So that is what I just offered you. And for you to think about and answer the question again. Can you do that?
Ishmael?
We lose him?
I don't know, but until him, let's wait for him to come back. But let me say this.
For that.
Ishmael.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
In that case, I will say no, that you're hearing me, right? Are you hearing me?
Yes.
Okay. In that case, no, I will say that I am a force.
A force.
Yeah, I am a force.
And I guess by force, you mean you're a power.
Right.
All unto yourself.
I am force. Right.
Absolutely. 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 And this,
maybe,
and I point out something further to that point. Once you realize that, you speak more assertively, right? You can affirm your truth in a way, right? That you get your point across much better than you could any other way. Because in order to really understand your identity, you're gonna express as your identity. You're gonna express in that way, right?
mm-hmm.
So if we're talking about building a community, what we're talking about is individuals who make up a community. So we're talking about bringing together all of that power, the power of the entire community. No exclusion.
Well, let me say this. Tony Brown made some points, and I want to speak to them. The first one is the politician as Santa Claus. Okay. Now, I don't understand what Tony Brown means by Santa Claus, because the politician come to the community and offer himself to represent the community. He has a responsibility. Over the years, what the politician has done is to use the distribution of scarce benefits to build his party and himself in power base. So it's not something that we view the politician as Santa Claus. The way the politician operate in the community, he operates like Santa Claus. That's the first thing.
But if I can just say something, Micah, right?
Go ahead.
Because we have to be careful how we respond to that, right? Because we can't respond to it as if we're trying to defend anything. We're not defending anything.
No, I'm not defending anything. I'm not defending. Okay. What I'm saying is that the way the politician operates in our community, he in fact operate like Santa Claus.
Yeah, but hold on. And that's what I mean when I say that how we respond is we're not defending anything. Basically, what I'm saying is that Tony Brown raised that question because he's the one that's not understanding. And this is what he doesn't get.
Yeah, I agree. But before, I just want to speak to the points he raised. Okay?
Yes, yeah. That's what I'm coming to.
The first one is Santa Claus. The second one is the politician lacks the resource to do stuff in the community. Now, I can see this as a factor, yes, because of what the country is going through, the low productivity level and what have you. But in a place like Waterhouse, that adjoins so many factories, what that showed me is the lack of creative thinking in a plan that would allow people, residents, to be part of a process that mobilize resources. That is not happening. Okay.
If I may, that is Patrick said earlier about who you are, and it ties beautifully into what Tony Brown was saying, in relation to politicians operating like Santa Claus. It has become that way.
It has.
Not just for Waterhouse, but for the country, because the main purpose, individuals don't understand anymore the main purpose of a political party. The main purpose of a political party is to gain sovereign power, right? And in order to gain sovereign power, there are some things that he needs to do.
Yeah.
One of which is putting out what they call a manifesto, which is just a list of things that they want to achieve for the nation. Having said that, your political representative should be just that, your representative. But what is happening now is because, enough argument's sake, let's use me. Ishmael doesn't necessarily know what he wants to do himself. And because he doesn't know what he wants to do himself, he's not sure how to approach same. Having said that, Ishmael still has basic needs like I need to brush my teeth, I need to wear clothes. If I'm a man, so I'm gonna say females that I may like and I may want, and that requires some amount of financial freedom. No, I don't necessarily know what I'm about, so which means that more often than not, I don't have a job. Given that I don't have a job, I see this political representative and he's trying to sell something to me. What is he selling? He's selling himself to be my representative. I don't interpret him trying to sell himself as just that. I interpret him as a fruit for the picking. And I see this man as a literal dollar sign. So the first thing I do is to say, what can you do for me?
Yeah.
And that in his interpretation is individualistic. So if he thinks, and I may very well say to him that, right now I don't really have no money and more want money for the sum or whatever the case is, and him going in pocket and take out $5,000 give me. No, that instant gratification that I feel, I have respect for this man because this man give me money. And this is the same thing being repeated time and time again in different auras. When I say auras, I mean persons. So I go to the member of parliament because he wants to run for public office, and I tell him what I want. And after I do that, somebody else does that, but they just do it in different in different ways. For some, it is Mwango school. While that is very important, a lot of people don't necessarily understand that, as Patrick said, that is an individual thing, because education benefits you first before it benefits the people around you, right? So initially, I will shop to him a negotiation kind of a deal. You give me something and I vote for you. That's exactly what is happening now. So, and I've seen it happen very recent. I'm not sure if you are familiar with a little Rasta. That's what they call him. A little luckier political figure called Damian Crawford.
Yeah.
He tried to sell a future to people, and they weren't having that. They must say them no want no goat or them no want no education and money them want. And him say point blank, him not give nobody no money. And what happened to him? He's no longer a member of parliament, you see. So again, it ties beautifully into what Patrick was saying about knowing thyself. And because it has been happening so often, people now connotate representational politics with two things mainly: corruption and financial freedom. So if, for argument's sake, Ishmael decides to run for public office, automatically, even if me I walk and I take bus every single day and you see me and you hear me, because you see me in this light as a political figure, I am supposed to have money. And that is the disconnect we are having now. And it's not just with my generation.
Excellent.
It's also with the generation that is before me, because of how it was happening. You know, we have a hell of a
excellent, Ishmael. Excellent. You just use an example that went to the heart of it. You just use an example that went to the heart of it. Right? It is not about what you think you know, it's about what you don't know. That's the approach you gotta take to people. But remember now, the thing about it is, this is how dynamic the personality is. Right? We always think we know what's best for ourselves. Right?
We really do.
But how we think we know it? How we really think we know it? Right? And this is where it calls now for you to explain how you know it. And this is where you start running into all kinds of problems. You start going to all kinds of discussions as to how it can be done. No, that's not how it works. Right? So in order for you to know how it works, right, then you have to educate yourself. Right? And if you're going to educate yourself, how are you going to educate yourself? You're going to rely on the same people who you're expecting it from to educate you? No. The ones who you're expecting it from is not going to educate you for it. Right? That education is not going to be one of integrity. That is why you have a flawed education system. Because you have to take responsibility for your education. Right? Education is beyond the classroom. You have to redefine education. Right, to start.
I mean, it's a psychological issue as well, you know, because it's a deep-rooted psychological issue, because human beings on a whole have the tendency to, whenever something is going wrong, to cast blame. So if the case is that,
that's the very art of it. It is the knowing that self, which in ordinarily don't know. We know ourselves. We only know our human side. We don't know our psychological side. We don't know our mental side. We don't know our spiritual side. Right? All of that is part of us.
Mm-hmm.
It is all happening. It all comprises our makeup.
But let me say this. Let me say this. You see, I agree with all of what you just said, what both of you said. But Tony Brown is saying something totally different. Tony Brown is saying criminals and guns and unwanted children. That is what is preventing Waterhouse from being developed. You know, and he said unwanted children that them can't care for, criminal guns preventing. And this sort of idea, this ideology, you know, where people, this problem with crime is because of unwanted children. People having kids that them can't take care of, who then become criminals. And that is not true. That is not true.
Okay, but this is it, Michael. This is the crux of that statement. The crux of that statement is, right, that we're not gonna assume that Tony Brown in saying that is thinking that he don't care for the life of children who don't look like his, or who don't grow up like his, or he don't care for the life of children who really never got any exposure to any form of education, right? Or you don't care for people who come into the community not through purchasing a house and living there, but then probably did capture a piece of land, right? And set up a little shack and start to raise them family in that shack, right? And because they're dealing with life the best way they know how, right? They start having children and all kinds of things. And for that reason, they need to pay a price. That's the same thing that got us in this problem to begin with.
Well,
remember where we're coming from.
Well, let's hear what Ishmael say now, because Ishmael, do you think that the problem of gun and violence and unwanted children is what is preventing Waterhouse from moving forward? What you see as the main problem preventing development in Waterhouse? And by extension, the country, you know, from a youth point of view.
Well, as Patrick was saying, the problem is individuals not taking responsibility. You have to take responsibility for yourself first. So if as Tony Brown was saying, unwanted children is an issue, you need to have more responsible sex. Have responsible sex. That's what it is, right? And if you start having more responsible intercourse, that means you won't have to deal with the issue of having unwanted children, because that would mean that, because you know personally that you're not in a responsible frame of mind to bear a child, but you want the fun that comes before childbearing, which is sexual intercourse. What do? Wear protection. If it's a man or if it's a woman, you take contraceptives. That's the first step, taking responsibility. The second step is, and I keep saying, and I'm going to say it again and again. You hear this phrase everywhere you go. You hear this phrase: "Politician not do nothing for me." I heard a lecturer said it once, and then I heard a politician say at a rally, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country."
Kennedy said that.
John F. Kennedy said that.
Yeah.
I didn't know, because I heard a politician say it, and I heard my lecturer say it. I didn't know. Thank you for that. Right, and this is why I'm always optimistic about my future, because I want to know. And I think if the more you want to know is the more you will know, which means that you have to be very receptive of information coming your way. People my age aren't receptive. If you even tell them about them personal flaws, them go up in them feelings. Right? And again, as Patrick said, it's an individual thing. So we have a crime problem now, right? Crime. It is now the 15th of January. And last night I was watching the news. I kid you not, over 40 persons have died so far in the island of 3 million. Over 40 persons.
What is happening in Waterhouse on that issue?
Well, actually, somebody died yesterday in Waterhouse, which means that you know, and you hear gunshots almost every day, just the same, which means that young people, men and women alike, are still being exposed to violence, right? And if it is that a conflict arises, their defense mechanism is violence. Nobody wants to solve anything anymore, and that's not because of them making that conscious decision in their mind. You know, it has become innate because of what they're seeing.
But,
This is why you always hear people say, you know, parental figures are very important.
but here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? I just watched a video just yesterday, right, of a shootout or a shooting right inside the clinical Olympic Gardens. Right?
No, yeah, no, that's not true. That's not true. But
It's not true.
I understand. No, it's not true. It's not Olympic.
It's not Olympic.
No, it's not Olympic.
But did a shooting take place in the community?
No, not in the community of Waterhouse.
Oh, okay. All right. But anyway, my point is that right to what you said just now, Ishmael, right? It's always comes back to we are faced with the problems that we're faced with because we are hopeless in terms of finding our way. And the reason we're hopeless in terms of finding our way is because in order for us to find our way, we have to first know our identity, right? Because that's what's gonna determine what way we really talk about when we talk about finding our way. That's what's gonna determine everything. Right? And why it goes all the way up to the world is because we part of the process of understanding that means that you understand that you're not just part of a community, you're part of a world, right? That is why Waterhouse produce not just gunmen, right? Not just criminals, not just you know, entertainers. It produces engineers, it produces architects, it produces all kinds, right? But the real science of building a community, right? We're really talking about, let's define building. It's really building a community that thrives, right? I'll give you an example, right? You have heard about Rwanda.
Right.
Right? You remember the genocide that took place in Rwanda, that whole civil unrest that broke out, leading to a whole lot of tribalism, people chopping up people like crazy. They were neighbors. Kids were grew up together, right? Fighting, chopping up each other, right? That has turned around now.
Rwanda is one of the
as
most financial and thriving countries.
The Singapore.
Yeah. That's
right?
what they relate.
What is that telling you? Does that tell you a story?
It tells me that it is possible. A turnaround is possible.
Not just that it is possible.
Yeah,
it tells you based on your understanding of who you are, right? It tells you that you're capable of great things, even greater than that. That's really what it says.
Yeah, but Patrick, it also said, you know, that policy matters. Policy matters. I am of the view that, let me say this, of all the representative Waterhouse enjoy over the year, okay? Of
Mm.
all the representatives, Hilton is one of the better individuals to represent Waterhouse. You see him, he's doing stuff and what have you, and that I can understand the lack of resource and what have you. But I'm pretty much certain that if Hilton implement a policy that is inclusive, pull everybody in and engage them in a discussion, Waterhouse would be in a much better place because policy does matter.
Yeah, but you have to look at what leads to those policies.
I'd want Michael to elaborate exactly what he means by inclusive in terms of the whole. I'd want him to elaborate.
All right, inclusive for me is a discussion, getting a discussion going with people who are not just his supporters. He's moving beyond the PNP supporters to include the independents, the GLP supporters, because Michael, nobody can tell me that they are not GLP supporters in Waterhouse. Okay? And this is something lacking over the years. Okay? We have to come
given that I've worked closely, very closely with Anthony Hilton, I can say without a shadow of a doubt that before any policy decision or any discussion, let me not say discussion, before any position paper is put forward in Parliament, there is a call for a discussion to be had in the constituency. And ironically, the only people that really attend are the people that are trying to beg him something, his supporters, and maybe one or two stakeholders, maybe. So the issue is never about what you think, but it's a very good point. But it comes back down to prioritizing. This means that I don't prioritize what they are trying to say to me. And when I say that, I literally mean, if it is that all right, let me use an example. The other day, I was fortunate enough to work with him on his logistics project. Before the People's National Party went out of power, he was pushing this logistics hub initiative for some time. He was pushing this industrial belt of what that place name coming off the highway.
Non-spin.
6 Mile. No, not non-spin. 6 Mile.
Yeah.
Where milk, where the dairy industry is.
Creamer.
Right, and Nestle is the name. As well as non-spin. So I've seen those plans, and whenever there is a call for community stakeholders and citizens, because whenever he's doing those kind of things, he never politicizes them. It is about community members and stakeholders. And when you say community members, it's literally everybody that resides or works or uses the community as, as whatever. And if I kid you not, if 50 people turn out, that is a lot of people. If 20 people turn out, that is even a lot, right? And then these same people are going to say that they are not seeing their member of parliament. This is telling me that people literally want to be spoon-fed. You will hear residents say that they are not seeing him. He has never come and knocked on their gate. You will literally hear that. And that also tells me that everybody has this, my grandmother, before she died, God rest her soul, has this term that she used, importantitis. Everybody really has suffered from importantitis. So they want to feel important to themselves, which is fine, which is fine. But where do you draw the line? And this is where it is, right? Because you have this case where you have a representative trying, but he's getting no help.
And
But
that, hold on, Patrick, hold on a minute. And that explains the condition of the roads?
Roads, that is another thing. In relation to roads and rehabilitation, before any road is fixed, you have to first segment, if that categorize rather, what kind of road it is, because roads are two. Let me see something here. Right, roads are categorized in two categories, placed in two categories rather. So it's parochial roads and main roads. The parochial roads are what is used by residents and others, and the main roads are literally just that. So National Works Agency is responsible for all main roads, and the parochial roads is the responsibility of the local authority. The local authority is the municipality. So this means your councillor should be fixing your roads. So your councillors put forward a plan for a rehabilitation, and it depends on the resources available. Then a road is fixed. What happens most of the time is whenever funding is becoming available, members of parliament put in their subvention that they want assistance. For argument's sake, let me tell you a road when we never see. Old Station Road, Ellisto Avenue.
Ellisto Avenue.
Right. The road beside Ellisto Avenue is a Conway Road.
Conway Road, yeah.
Yeah, man, never fixed. And more than 3-4 years, me see the member of parliament a lobby for financing for those roads. And ironically enough, you will see other roads being fixed. So what they do,
yeah.
What members of parliament normally do is they get private entities to fund the rehabilitation of those roads. And whenever that happens, a deal has to strike. There has to be some kind of negotiation. So for argument's sake, dairy industries with the Fan Boulevard, trying to fix that particular road. Maybe is free promotion them looking, or maybe them want whenever them have something, them get some free labor or whatever the case. And this is how it happens now. Residents don't want to understand that there is a process before any resource is allocated to fix any road. You don't just get a road fixed literally. You have to make a case for that road, why, and the state of that road. But whenever, for argument's sake, the Jamaica Labour Party is in power now, given that they are in power, you will literally see, and I'm not politicizing anything here, but you will literally see roads that are in a Jamaica Labour Party stronghold being fixed.
Like Oldness here, these roads are
right. All of them
yeah.
are rehabilitated, and that is how it works. because people politicize things for their party, for their gain. But residents don't want to try to understand that. So you literally look how long my road are fixed, and then the member of parliament say, I am getting to it. And it is literally, it is true, he is getting to it. But it's not not to the fruit of the impatient.
So again, it comes back to the self-responsibility. It always come back to that.
Right. Just like King Jammy's. King Jammy's fixed his that was that Barbados Road? A Barbados Road in him?
St. Lucia.
St. Lucia Road, right, thanks. King Jammy's fixed St. Lucia Road. And him fix it for his personal gain, because that is a tourist attraction. King Jammy's studio rakes in tourist dollars for him. So he wanted to fix that because it was benefiting. And he just fixed that road. And if you notice, not Antigua Road,
yeah,
that runs lateral to St. Lucia Road, that not touch, because that doesn't benefit him.
But here's the thing, Ishmael, right? I mean, you break it down beautifully. But here's the lesson. Here's the lesson from all of that. The lesson from all of that is that by our nature, right, we're gonna find our way of doing whatever needs to be done to satisfy our needs. If we want to eat, we're going to find a way to eat. Trust me, nobody's gonna sit back and starve and wither and die. It's not our nature to do that. Our nature is to live, right? So we are gonna make whatever moves we consider necessary, we need to make. That's what breeds the gunman, right? That's what breeds the criminal, because we figure that in order for him to survive, right? He must rob and shoot and all of that.
Right.
Right? Because that's the only livelihood him can think of. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that he's unwilling to help himself. It's that he has no clue how. Because he doesn't know himself.
And that's the only way he knows how.
Right. He doesn't know. It's what he thinks he knows. It's what he thinks he knows. But it's really about what he doesn't know. He doesn't know himself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's really what it is about. That's the part where the fear is. The fear is the unknown. Because fear is an illusion.
Yeah, but in all of this, what role is there for the politician? What should the people expect of the politician? Those who present themselves.
Proper representation, because the role of a member of parliament is for you to make representation in Gordon House for future forward thinking. So for argument's sake, so right now there is worldwide, there's a living issue. People can't find middle class and lower people on the lower end of the earning scale find it hard to purchase real estate, which means that they can't live. So everybody has to be renting, and rent is already through the roof. So people can't necessarily find anywhere to buy. Having said that, the real estate market is ridiculous. One bedroom house are $10 million. It's ridiculous, right? So having said that, the role of a member of parliament is to bridge that gap. This is why, Norma Manley made the NHT, right? Because poor people need somewhere to live too. And how them all
it was Michael Manley.
Here's the thing, Ishmael.
Michael Manley, thank you.
What you just said just there is where Tony Brown's question or his whole concern came from about the Santa Claus thing, right? Because what you just laid out, right, is what we have been taught, right, by the whole colonialists, right? And now when we take up the mantle, we decide to try and implement the very thing that the whole colonialists teach us, saying that is the education, right? And it doesn't produce the result we expect, right? And that's where the problem is. That's where it goes to Tony Brown mentioning about, we think politicians are Santa Claus. No, because what it really is about, right? It is about our own understanding, our own definition of what really is education, our own definition of what really is progress.
People really need to understand that this phenomenon of Santa Claus is not even real, which means that you placed yourself in a position to see somebody as your saving grace rather than yourself. So you're seeing the members of parliament as this fallacy of what he really isn't. The member of parliament is a man just like you.
Yeah, but
here's the thing, right? When you say what you just said, it's not that what you said was wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that what you said was absolutely correct, right? But it sends a different understanding because of how the principle of how it is explained, right, come about.
Well, let me ask Ishmael this. What is proper representation for you? What is proper representation?
Proper representation for me is seeing the fruits of my member of parliament being coming to fruition. So for argument's sake, there is a housing issue in Waterhouse. I'm seeing development of houses being erected. If it is that there is an education issue within my constituency, I'm seeing more people start going to school by whatever means, and not just, and that is the issue. So people will say that nothing is happening because they aren't seeing, these basic things being met. So proper representation for me is me seeing him in action and knowing that he's at least trying, and not just that, he's reporting to me the updates
on
of
that
his
basis.
efforts.
On that basis, how do you rank Hilton performance so far?
On what I literally just said, I would have to give him a 5 out of 10.
5.
To be honest. Yeah, man. I have to give him a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
But here's the kicker. The kicker is that is not a merit system. Life is not a merit system. That's the whole thing about it. It's not a merit system. It's this fallacy we have about education and thinking that education is a merit system. It have a start point and it have an end point and all of that stuff. That's not what education is. Right?
I mean, don't get me wrong, don't get me wrong. While it is, it is literally what it is. You do have proper representation in parliament for whichever constituencies.
But how you're gonna define proper representation is always gonna be on the basis of what you understand it to be. That's the real point. That's how you're always gonna define it. So it's not an indictment against the politician himself. It's really about what you understand.
I think,
and this is why it requires everybody coming together. It's our nature. It's our nature.
I think the disconnect is really about how we decide to communicate. And when I say that, I mean what mode we use. Whether people like it or not, as much as social media has revolutionized how we communicate. I know I studied it.
Yeah, but
it takes nothing.
As long as you keep skirting around the issue.
Right. It takes nothing from
then
having this face-to-face.
You just keep redefining
that's
it.
Literally right. That's literally what people want. So for let us keep it at home. For our member of parliament, we want him to look us in our faces and say, "May I try fix Conway Road for 10 years and then nah help me." We prefer hearing that than hearing nothing at all. Because if we heard it from him, at least we heard something.
No, but the thing about it is, we don't want to hear anything. We want Conway Road fixed. And the way to get Conway Road fixed is what we need to address. That it takes all of us to get Conway Road fixed. Because it's not just about Conway Road. It's about all roads, right? But when you speak, when the whole thing about it is, right? When the politician, when you speak to the politician one-on-one, you have to speak to the politician one-on-one and the understanding that it is not just my life improvement I'm speaking about when I interact with you as a politician to get my life better. It is about the all lives, not just my life, all lives, right? It's all or nothing. It's always all or nothing.
Ishmael.
That's what education does.
Ishmael.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you like to see done in Waterhouse to change the situation? As a young man living in, what are some of the things? Just some ideas.
More engagement from civil society.
And when you say civil society, what do you mean?
Yeah, man. Civil society being non-for-profit organizations.
Like the church?
Not the church. Not the church. I mean, the USAID, the United Nations, those kind of organizations becoming more involved in the community by whatever means. I mean, as I said before, not just better representation but that conversation needs to happen more often, not just on our level, but literally us seeing, the powers that be, whoever they are, coming within the community and sitting, having a beer or drink some juice, and let us have a conversation about how to take our community forward.
How you overcome the fear?
Fear of?
The fear. People fearful of coming into Waterhouse.
I mean, that is something that you never, it goes with all inner cities. People are afraid of inner cities for whatever reason. So I mean, if it is that is the reason why they don't want to come, then they didn't want to come in the first place. So if that, I mean, you're from Waterhouse and you haven't, and if you're going back there, you're going back with, it don't matter, and you're almost sure that you're safe.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and it's not just because you're from there, sort of thing. So first of all, you need to, eradicate that fallacy of fear out of you, because it's people you are dealing with. It's people you are dealing with. So as much as it's not a tribal kind of thing where where the minute you come off the bus or you make that turn at the T-junction of a bus terminus, you're in a problem. No. Right? And people need to understand that while violence happens internally. So it's not a case where I am here and I need to fear for my life, sort of thing. Because me no in a nothing, sort of literally, and you always hear your grandmother say, no tree in a nothing, why nothing will happen to you. And that is true. But man know who them a look for, and as long as you're not in their way, you're fine. Sort of thing. And even most of the times, and I've seen it, you're in a man way, and a man literally go around you and do him a do and gone. You know, so that false sense of fear is literally just a false sense of fear. So you have to be brave about it, because if you want to be that agent of change, you literally have to stare these things in the eyes and you know.
I'm gonna offer a experience of that as well, and I did last week, but I'm gonna mention it again, right, in support of what you just said, Ishmael. It is so key. First of all, in all the years that I live in Waterhouse, I've never witnessed a shootout. And there have been thousands of shootouts throughout these years that I've been there. And it's not that I've not been in the community. Like I said, I was an activist in the community. I was very visible in the community at all times, right? Secondly, to that point, right? When you're speaking of really engaging in working with people, people don't see you as an enemy.
True.
Remember, the key to what you just said is, right? Them know what I'm looking for. Them using their mind. They're thinking. They got to be thinking. They're people. They're life. Right? That's why the art of everything goes to your thinking. Right? It is what you understand.
Well, on that note, I think we have to pause until next week. We have gone over an hour and 15 minutes to talk about this, and we're still scratching the surface. You know, we haven't gone much deeper, but it's good. There, you know, there's a process, and I hope Ishmael will continue to be with us. And we can. I
will be.
Because
yeah, I certainly enjoyed meeting you, man.
Because
appreciate it.
Because this is just a start, and hopefully others can join in, because we are searching. You know, we are searching. This is a search for solution to the problem at Waterhouse, and not just Waterhouse, but Jamaica. You know, because a similar problem exists right across Jamaica. You know, the problem of poor representation, poor road condition, unemployment, youth can't get access to education, and all of that stuff. So next week, we're going to pick this up and continue discussions.
And I certainly hope that Tony will give us some more feedback.
He will. Okay. You know?
Maybe we can have him on one of these days as well.
Yes. I'm going to try and get Tony, you know. And if you know of anyone, Ishmael, in the community.
Yes, man. I'll
we want to hear from the women them also, you know. You know, this tradition where men just get together and try and resolve the problem. It's not going to work in this new dispensation. You know, we need
everyone. It's all or nothing.
Yes, we need everyone at the table to talk, because if we are able to get that, then certainly the politicians will understand that, listen, we are a force, as Ishmael outlined. We are a force. You know, so, brother man, thank you very much. And I hope to see you next Saturday. Same time, same place.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
man, take it easy.
One love. Take care.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Cool.